I'm pretty sure Desiree was one of those early childhood moments when I knew I was into girls. Like, she thick. If she had legs, she could totally step on me.
Desiree, the evil Jenny. Also, she's hot as well. I admit she's pretty.
They drew the breast triangles slightly larger than the other breast triangles. What is wrong with you people? This is why God has abandoned us. God damn it, how many more episodes of this crap are there? There are 44 episodes left. What the hell was I thinking when I started this?
Well, the years start coming and they don't stop 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 coming.
Well, hello once again, and welcome back to my slow descent into insanity. We took a bit of a break, watched Truth or Dare, Quiet Place 2, Slender Man, and then we briefly laughed at The Wretched and Next of Kin. And now Platinum Okami and I have returned to talk about Danny Phantom some more, because people really like when I talk about Danny Phantom for some reason. And I'm certainly not one to deny them of that. So without further ado, let's dive right in.
Alright, first problem. This is narrated by Tucker. Moving on.
Yes. Ah, wonderful. We get to have this moron narrate an episode for us. Can't wait to see what kind of indispensable insight he provides to the narrative. Normally, most people would see this and think, this is going to be a Tucker episode. We're going to learn about Tucker some more. Except, surprise, surprise, we don't. There isn't anything substantial we learn about Tucker's personality aside from what we already know and whatever the episode needs to pull out of the ether to instigate drama. Look how good of friends we are, everyone. We've been friends for so long. We share everything. I sure hope nothing happens that would potentially get in the way of our wonderful and seemingly unbreakable friendship. Let us split the skateboard wheels with one another, best friend.
I just want to point out something else that this episode... They do this in these cartoons all the time where they just establish this thing that these characters have had despite never showing it in previous episodes, which is this whole sharing everything thing.
Mm-hmm.
This has literally never been established in any part of the show. It has never been hinted at. It literally is just this random thing that all of a sudden they act more like friends in this episode than they do the past, like, however many episodes we're in at this point.
Also, keep in mind that the only reason this narration is happening in the first place is because it's just what Tucker has written in his digital journal on his PDA, meaning that Tucker has Danny's secret identity written in an easily accessible device that probably isn't password protected. So, good job like normal, Tucker. Regardless, we meet back up with Danny and Tucker as they're walking through a garage sale farmer's market, something or other. I'm not actually sure what this is. It's called the Amity Park Swap Meet, supposedly taking place on the weekend, even though Danny visits it again during the school week. Good job on that, by the way. So I guess this is just a random market sale that Amity Park puts on. Fair enough, I suppose. It's all just an irrelevant excuse for how the ghost shows up anyway. Speaking of, let's take a moment to discuss that. This moron, Desiree, the monster of the week, who subsequently breaks the whole show. Again. I should start keeping a tally on that. Desiree is definitely not the ghost of a dead person. In an incidental but completely unrelated story, there used to be a harem girl who looked exactly like her and was initially promised a kingdom after stealing the heart of a sultan. Upon discovering this, the sultan's wife banished her from the kingdom, thus robbing her of what is implied to be her deepest desire. And so, after her death many years later, a completely unrelated entity came about and began granting the deepest desires of those around her. What a coincidence, huh?
I can see the clip now.
None of the ghosts would be dead people.
Desiree's initial portrayal shows her as benevolent, yet involuntarily destructive, which actually makes her one of the more interesting villains of the show. Not that the bar is exactly set very high, but still. Doubled with the context of her backstory, it would appear that she uses her powers purely for the sake of trying to bring happiness to people. Needless to say, as this is a Danny Phantom episode, none of this lasts very long, and as soon as the writers needed her to be, she spontaneously becomes evil out of nowhere. From this point, the wish-granting ability is portrayed as being involuntary rather than out of benevolence. When she hears a wish she doesn't want to grant, she does so anyway because I don't know, I guess she just has to for whatever dumbass reason we never hear. That being said, let's take a look at the wish-granting ability itself and what that actually entails. What exactly is her power level? Well, as it turns out, seemingly infinite. There does not appear to be anything that this thing can't do. Over the course of the episode, she grants 7 wishes, one of which gets interrupted, and every single one demonstrates how stupidly powerful she is. Not only is she capable of creating or duplicating matter, she apparently can directly influence people's thoughts and emotions on an unknown scale, and more importantly, she can create ghosts. In addition to the fact that we're making the Danny Phantom lore even more confusing than it already is, the implication here is that she is capable of manifesting a new consciousness at the flick of her wrist. That is insanely powerful, and it definitely raises the question of, holy crap, what the hell can't you do? And the only thing holding this immense power back is apparently just the whims of those around her. Meaning, guess what Danny can do? Immediately. As soon as he figures out what her gimmick is.
I wish the Sea of Cotton Candy was gone. I wish you'd fix that bottle and go back into it. I wish you'd fuck off to the ghost zone and never come back. I wish you'd never grant a wish someone on this planet makes. I wish Tucker would stop being a retard. I wish you just never came here. I wish everything that you've done would just go away and that it would go back to the way it was before we started. I wish ghosts couldn't come here anymore. I wish that the ghost zone wasn't real. I wish that this show was better.
Moving right along to the next little bundle of idiocy, Desiree's introduction is brought about by random mystic gypsy lady. As Danny and Tucker approach her stand, they're first drawn to a golden vase advertised to have a genie in it. After Tucker, the person who knows that ghosts are real, expresses doubt about genies, he places it back onto the stand, only for it to be knocked over not long after, which ends up releasing her. So off the bat, we have Mystic Lady here, who undoubtedly knew what was in this bottle and thought to herself, holy crap, I found something worth money. This is going straight to the front of the stand. As the episode progresses and Desiree proceeds to wreak obvious havoc throughout the town, Mystic Lady completely washes her hands of it and does absolutely nothing to try and assist in the recapture of this thing that she's basically responsible for releasing, when all that would entail would be, I wish the bottle was fixed. And you were back in it. This is something she could have said as soon as the bottle broke. Oh well, I guess she just didn't think of that. Furthermore, my criticism extends with the fact that upon going into hiding after Desiree's initial release, Baba Yaga here immediately sets shop back up and pretends like nothing happened after the rampage proceeds past swap meet, because, well, I mean, obviously. The sale of her other cursed objects are important, remember, and she did just take a loss after all. Perhaps the survivors of the impending massacres will need some amethysts to help attract positivity into their lives. Honestly, I think that I would have rather have seen that story, especially given her reaction when Danny inevitably approaches her about it. I am entirely convinced that the only reason she gave him the exposition on Desiree's origins is because she figures the ghost will murder him before any responsibilities fall back onto her. Oh crap, this kid knows the demon came from me. Oh, that's terrible, little boy. It did something to your friend? Oh no, you haven't told anyone else, right? Okay, good. Here's what you have to go do. The true villain of this episode didn't even have a line. And in the end, she escaped. Beautiful.
I'm going ghost!
In public.
Anyway, we get our Danny meets Desiree scene in which we get introduced to Danny's new superpower, the Ghost Ray. Not really much to say about this. It's a green laser thing that has different levels of effectiveness depending on what the writers need to happen. Although it has been shown to utterly annihilate some things and even shatter concrete and other solid materials, he can also apparently shoot people with it, and it just kind of pushes them back a little bit because, you know, kid show might be a bit heavy to show Danny accidentally eviscerating someone. In other instances, it seems to have absolutely no effect whatsoever, showcasing us the patented writing example of, I don't want the obvious solution to work. It is somewhat implied that he has control over how intense the blast is, which mainly just creates more problems. One being, why the hell don't you ever use it on max power whenever you're fighting something that wants to kill everyone? Also sure is a good thing that when you didn't have full control over it yet, you didn't just disembowel Tucker in this scene. That probably would have been a bit awkward. Overall, this is mainly just contributing to making Danny even more unstoppable than he already was. In addition to the intangibility and possession that he never utilizes correctly, he now can shoot lasers. He's about 3 episodes away from becoming God. Also, as you can imagine, now that there's a wishing ghost out here, everyone in Amity Park is going to be randomly wishing for crap out of nowhere. Particularly here, where Dash is doing terrible at sports, and so he does this.
I wish I could turn into the kind of monster who could crush these guys single-handed.
However, in the most fortunate of circumstances, Danny just happens to be around when this happens because he's filling in for the club mascot at this point. This is also used to establish our B-plot of Sam is sick. Not so much a B-plot, though. If I'm being a little bit more clear-cut, it's just the writers saying to us, we want this to be a Danny and Tucker episode exclusively. So here is our excuse on why Sam isn't pestering them with a new agenda today. And in true Danny Phantom form, instead of taking the easier and more time-efficient route of giving Tucker a single throwaway line, they instead opted to drag Sam out of her bed and to the football game so that they can more obviously shove in our faces what's happening. So congratulations, Tucker. Now you look like even more of an asshole than you normally do. Dragging this sick and miserable person out of the comfort of their bed and into the cold because she just has to come see her friend jumping around the field in a defected pigeon costume. That being said, Sam, you're a moron like normal. Why exactly did you agree to this?
I'm sick as a dog and I hate sports. Why am I here?
Because Danny's here, and he's got the best seat in the house.
So you agreed to leave your house while you were in the middle of dying so that you could watch an activity that you don't even like from a better angle than you could have normally, because this nerd talked you into it. Well, hiya, Sam. I know you're at the peak of illness and probably miserable as all hell, but what would you think about coming to watch a football game that's populated mostly by people that we don't like? Why, that sounds abhorrently torturous, Tucker. I'll meet you there with the good throat lozenges. Though I suppose she knew she had an audience to explain things to because she's only present long enough to establish that she's sick before getting up and leaving. Other than a couple irrelevant instances afterward, she is entirely absent from this episode going forward.
I want to point out.
Like, why did she even agree to come? Like,
Yeah, she was there. She showed up all the way here to leave.
yeah. Anyway, to bring ourselves back on track now, Dash makes a totally out-of-place wish so that Desiree can show up and cause a problem. We briefly slip back into the Fairly Odd Parents universe for a moment so that we can show this insanity happening while also having nobody actually acknowledge it.
People are still playing right now. Like, they're running like...
It looks like those high-protein breakfasts are really paying off.
Bruh! He just grew like a fucking entire foot. His skin is bright green. He just threw a fucking fireball football. And Tucker notices. Everybody else would notice. This is stupid.
Goddamn. So, anyway, Danny instantly wins the fight with Ghost Dash because Danny has an instant win button. You know. And while all this is going on, we're treated to more Tucker narration. Normally I would ignore this, but seeing as it's important to the plot, we'll briefly address it. Basically, while everyone's ignoring the eldritch demon rampaging across the field, Danny approaches Tucker and informs him that he needs help. What this entails is that Tucker needs to put on the costume now to double as Danny for a bit, so that he can instead go and quickly fix the situation. Why Danny feels this is needed is quite the mystery. I suppose the incredibly brief disappearance of the mascot during the rampage would look a little too suspicious, but not so to openly switch with another member of the audience before disappearing himself. Your strategies never fail to impress, Danny. However, now that Tucker's in the costume, everything sucks for him, and by some otherworldly magic that we don't get to see, he ends up hanging upside down from the goalpost. One would assume that it was the bullies that put him there, but the dialogue seems to imply that they were only just arriving, making it seem like Tucker got put there in a different way.
Man, every time Danny goes ghost, I get the short end of the stick.
Ah yes, this is the problem of the week. Danny's friends are being unreasonable idiots again. Go figure. Sure, the plan was a bit weird, Tucker, but what would you have proposed as the alternative? Should Danny have allowed Dash's soul to be consumed while simultaneously allowing the ghost that was possessing him to proceed with the destruction that it was causing to prevent your inconvenience in the situation? The thought occurs that this is something that extends a bit beyond you, Tucker. But I got beat up by jocks. There's a wandering monkey's paw that is threatening your very reality, Tucker. Anybody with an IQ above room temperature that figures out what's going on could inflict massive damage to the universe simply by uttering a sentence. Your irritation should instead be focused on the fact that Danny went after the magic rather than the spellcaster. that he knew was there. But oh well, let's continue. I'm sure this won't fester into a stupid problem anytime soon. The following scene introduces us to the convenient new invention that we'll be utilizing today for the situation that will so perfectly pop up for it later. The Fenton Ghost Catcher, which Danny decides he's going to fly through for some reason. Wow, Danny, what a miracle from God that you haven't gotten yourself inadvertently killed yet. What exactly makes you think that anything that your parents make would be safe for you to pass through, especially things that you don't recognize? Gee golly whizzikers, guys, my parents, whose primary objective is to hunt ghosts, made something that looks like a dream catcher. I wonder what it does. Our subsequent explanation for the device is that Danny's parents are also sick, and since they're crazy, they're assuming ghosts are doing it. The ghost catcher is meant to act as a purifier for them to expunge any spirits from them that may be causing the illness.
You're not using the ghost catcher. You're in there.
Yeah, but they're crazy. They don't know how the thing they made works.
Matt, you should know how it works.
Whoa! This one actually works. A little too well.
Yeah, and it works differently than it does in the next time you see it. But that's besides the point.
All right, so let's see what we have next on this ever-marching parade. Ah, yes, the theater scene. So, this is horrifying, to say the least.
She's gotta be sick if she's missing Dead Teacher 4. This time it's personal.
Dang! Anybody could have seen that. They're in a public place. In the middle, there's tons of people around.
Nah.
Why would you do that? Just don't do it. Dude, just walk, take a step to the right, Danny, you lazy little fuckface. God damn. You're like that guy who cuts in front of somebody in traffic so they can immediately be stopped by the person who's next in traffic. That's you, Danny. Fuck you.
Basically, what we got here is that there's apparently a Hello Kitty movie coming out or something, and a couple girls are freaking out about it. I rather thought the Hello Kitty obsession stopped after 5 for most people, but I guess not. Upon seeing this, our favorite rocket engineer Paulina shows up to give her input on the franchise.
Sayonara Pussycat is so cute. Why can't I be that popular?
I hate you, Paulina. She didn't say I wish. You get out of here.
I was going to say, so much for that rule. Dear God in heaven, what the hell is that? Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's disturbing what that is. That's not right. Nobody wants that.
We love you, Paulina.
Imagine if this was a live-action show and we actually got a realistic, big-eyed, chibi Paulina looking over the zombie army she amassed while saying to them, "I'm adorable, aren't I?" Can you imagine how utterly evil that would appear? The bright, happy colors are really all that's sparing us from the eldritch horror that's actually going on here. It's becoming like Lovecraftian at this point. Meat Canyon should make a video on this.
No, dude, Nikki should make a Danny Phantom video. That could be fucking... It'd probably be awful, but I'd watch it.
It'd be terrifying. Anyway, of course, Danny and Tucker are here for this, and both of them are completely unaffected by the gaze of this creature.
Why aren't Danny or Tucker under Paulina's mesmerization that's currently happening?
Because they're main characters.
Oh, I see. Well, that's fucking stupid.
And so we can get the scene of Tucker being all mad because Danny has to go ghost again. This leads to this insanity.
Man, I'm coming for Danny. My movie gets sold out, and I gotta watch this now.
Then what do you mean? Why buy the ticket then, stupid?
His movie got sold out because he had to cover for Danny, even though everybody's pawning over Paulina right now.
Yeah, how the fuck is the movie sold out? Maybe if you guys weren't wasting time playing on that arcade cabinet, y'all would have got tickets to the goddamn movie. Go to the fuck get your ticket first, you fucking idiot. What do you mean? Don't blame Danny because y'all are stupid.
Who doesn't go and get their tickets is like the first thing that you do, especially with a movie you know.
Theaters, it's right there. It's literally as you walk in. Like the movie theater here, it's literally you walk through the door into the foyer, and then foyer, whatever the fuck it's called. You walk to the next thing. It's literally the desk is right in front of you. Where the fuck else are you going to go? Mm-hmm. And why'd you pay for a ticket to a movie you don't want to go to?
Yeah, like you're an idiot, Tucker. What are you doing?
Yeah, fuck you.
What a brilliant turn of events here, Tucker. You couldn't buy the tickets for the zombie movie because you had to cover for Danny, whatever the hell that means, and your reaction to such was, fine, I'm going to go buy tickets for a movie I'm not going to like. Can't say I understand the sentiment, but to each his own, I suppose. Meanwhile, Danny is battling Shogoth in the back, trying to prevent it from harvesting even more minds by... Oh my god, Danny, what are you doing?
What if that, like, killed her?
Hi! Is it...
He doesn't know how this works. He's just like, let me just laser you to the forehead. This will fix it. Whoa!
We've accidentally lobotomized Paulina.
Jesus.
Yeah, hold still for a second, Paulina. I'm just gonna shoot you in the head with a laser beam that I just acquired yesterday. Hopefully it doesn't instantly kill you or anything. Your agonized screams of pain seem to imply that it isn't, so that's a point on the pros list.
Cool, it worked.
Yes, Danny, it certainly is cool that Paulina's not dead or drooling on her own foot now. You can now go forward with the knowledge that you can openly shoot people in the head with minimal consequence. What a comfort that the savior of Amity Park is working entirely off of trial and error with the general idea of, well, let's see what this does. Regardless, now that that distraction is out of the way, we were discussing Tucker as he spitefully watches a pony movie for some reason. Let's see what other brilliant ideas he's been cooking up since then.
Man, I wish I had ghost powers too.
Wow, excellent job, Tucker. Through the combined incompetence of both you and Danny, you have now put yourself into the exact position that's going to make this as difficult as humanly possible. Let's recap this for some perspective, shall we? Approach Gypsy's stand. Gypsy is selling a genie bottle. Immediately after this, a ghost appears that asks what your wish is. Ghost gets away. A bunch of incredibly weird and off things start happening in which people afflicted begin exhibiting something that is very reasonable to assume is a twisted version of their desires. The ghost is noticeably present whenever this happens. You mean to tell me that you saw all of this in real time and never once did you think to yourself, yeah, you know, since Danny's not actually stopping the ghost that's doing all of this, maybe I shouldn't talk out loud about stuff I want until he finally does. Yes, you don't have access to all the information I do. Yes, you're an idiot. Don't worry, these are all things I'm taking into consideration. But this isn't that hard to figure out, bud. The very first thing this bitch said to Danny was, "What is your wish?" Of course, if we're operating off of Danny's usual competence levels, I'm sure he didn't tell Tucker about this, nor give it any further thought beyond the 15 seconds of it being said.
Literally, every time something happens, I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck is this? This is literally, dude, I'm literally going to be known as in your videos as the guy who sighs at everything because it just makes me sigh over and over again.
So, of course, Desiree shows up to grant the wish, and now we can begin the main conflict of the episode. Danny discovers this while dealing with another one of her abominations, wherein we can begin the petty arguing. I really don't have any interest of dissecting this conversation because it's 98% inane ramblings with Danny once again being the more reasonable of the two parties. Holy crap, Tucker, how the hell did you get ghost powers? This could be very bad. We need to look into this immediately. Yeah, well, you're stupid. That's ostensibly how it goes.
You're just jealous because there's somebody else around to grab the spotlight now.
You're just jealous that I have the same powers as you, but I'm inept at using them. What am I jealous about? You suck. What do you mean?
When have I ever grabbed the spotlight?
How about right now, for instance?
Boy, we almost crashed into a building. Maybe if you didn't suck so much, that wouldn't have happened, but it does. And I don't grab the spotlight for any reason. I have it because I have the powers, so I'm going to fix the fucking problems around here because you're too stupid and useless and you don't have ghost power. So what are you complaining about?
After all that nonsense, Tucker proceeds to start using his powers for the sake of pranking people, which I will say, fair enough, that's probably realistically what he would do. There is a really weird and kind of creepy scene in which he possesses Paulina, and then Danny possesses Paulina, and then they start arguing back and forth over stupid crap. And then Tucker says this.
It was our first argument, and we were having it over a girl. Well, in one, actually, but you get the point.
Yeah, Yeah, that probably didn't come across the way you wanted it to, huh? Little on the weird side, Tucker. Also, sure is a good thing you randomly remembered where Desiree came from, huh?
Baba Zeta's genie gave me these powers, and I'll use them how I want.
If Danny didn't have the witch to outright tell him who Desiree is, he may have had to resort to actually paying attention to what she was doing or something. And we all know that wouldn't have happened. Also, a little bit weird that on the Tucker-focused narration episode, we're very suddenly switching to events from Danny's perspective again. The POV thing got old for you guys that quick, huh? What a shame, it was doing so much for you. And so, Danny concocts a plan to find Desiree and hopefully set everything straight. As I'm sure most of us can assume at this point, it's going to be stupid and it's going to go horribly, and Danny's going to barely get out of it alive, despite having quite literally every single advantage that's possible in his favor. His first stop is to go to a wishing well. Appropriately enough, he figures that this would probably be one of the best places to find a ghost that was trying to grant everybody's wishes. However, rather than actually doing the thing that would make her show up, Danny just flips a single coin into the well and then just kind of stands there and expects her to show up after that. Just making sure, but you do know what the point of a wishing well is, right, Danny? There is a certain part of the ritual that you kind of just left out. Now you're gonna give up, huh? Oh well, thought that counts, I guess. Good thing another person just happened by and did your job for you, you little prodigy. The exchange that follows between the two is some of the most painful I've heard between a hero and a villain before. Danny says that Desiree has to change Tucker back, to which she replies that she can't.
I completely disagree with that, Desiree. In fact, I think if I were to phrase it, how would I put it? I wish Tucker didn't have those powers anymore. And then you'd have to do it. Also, then she does this weird little explanation here where, by random time at this random point, it'll be permanent for no real reason.
Then after Danny becomes even more forceful about it, Desiree ends up attacking him, thus resulting in a fight scene that lasts way longer than it should.
I have reality warping powers, so I'm going to do this.
Not a lot of imagination on Desiree, is it?
Big hand.
I wish you would disappear inside this thermos!
Yep, that's an entire episode that took place because you didn't lead with that. Fair enough, though. I suppose we can move along. So much for Desiree's backstory, huh? She didn't really seem to give a single crap about other people's actual desires, or else Danny's order to change Tucker back would have gone a hell of a lot differently. I suppose you're just evil now because evil, and the wish granting thing is kind of just a side effect because of your overall gimmick. But anyway, Danny, as per your latest exposition dump, it's important to note that you're apparently on a timeline now.
By noon tomorrow, your friend's fate will be sealed.
Oh, really? I wish it wasn't.
You can't wish for that. Yeah, I wish I could.
I wish I could. Noon tomorrow, huh? How thematically specific. Also, a little bit odd that she didn't just instantly make it permanent since she clearly has the ability to, and it was apparently her goal from the start for whatever reason. So, is this eventual permanency dependent on the wish, or is it just a weird rule that we're not expounding upon nor ever bringing up again? Would the cotton candy wish have become irreversible if given enough time? What about the flying car wish? Would the car have become progressively more evil the longer it was able to fly? Danny never took care of that, by the way. Just a little footnote. Regardless, this is nothing but good news for you, Danny. You have until tomorrow to figure out how to fix this, meaning you can go and find Tucker now and get all of the nonsense out of the way immediately. Probably seems like the best plan, huh? But Danny, being the Chad he is, scoffed at the thought and said to himself, "Noon tomorrow? I don't need that much time," and immediately went home and went to bed, wherein he resumed his search for his best friend the following morning at 11:45. What a flex, Danny. The confrontation goes about as you would expect, since Danny for some reason cannot speak the English language to any reasonable degree to be diplomatic towards the things that he knows will be hostile towards him otherwise. Tucker ends up attacking him, which leads us to our climax fight scene. For those unaware, it is important to point out that Danny does apparently have a plan. Not only that, but his plan doesn't involve the enemy doing a very specific thing that he would have no possible way of predicting that he would do. So that's a nice change of pace, I guess. Danny's using a strategy for the first time ever. Congratulations. Baby steps, I suppose. To those curious, the plan is to lure Tucker to his house so that he can shoot him through the ghost catcher. Is this plan not going to work after noon, even though that's the entire function of this device anyway, and it wouldn't make any sense for it not to do so? I don't know, I guess. Quite the plan, nonetheless, and needless to say, it does end up working. But of course, Danny doesn't actually begin by doing this. Instead, he runs Tucker around the school for some reason, wasting a good 10 minutes and leaving himself with only 5 to get him to his house. He knows that Tucker is going to follow him, and he knows that he doesn't need to provoke him any further, but he ultimately decides that this is still the best plan of action before actually enacting his plan. After this, we establish that ghosts can't see each other when they're invisible.
You can see me?
Yeah, that's right, bub.
Yeah. Whoops. Then Danny proceeds to outrun Tucker, even though he said earlier that he was getting faster than he was. So, damn, good thing reality keeps altering every couple seconds, Danny. This plan could have ended up being a little bit more difficult had Tucker just caught up with you and instantly murdered you right there. But all works out as it should, and in the name of the status quo, Danny sets everything back to normal. So we can appropriately begin our wrap-up conversation and whatever they want to push as the message for today.
None of that would have happened if I wasn't jealous.
Or if I had been a little less of a show-off around you.
What?
No. Stop doing this. He didn't show off. He was doing his fucking superhero thing.
They still found a way to make Danny the bad guy. That's impressive.
Only person in the wrong here is fucking Tucker being a dickhead. Buying tickets to movies he doesn't want to see. Blaming Danny for no reason. Fucking shut up, show. Fuck you. Whoever wrote this is an idiot.
You're making Danny the bad guy again, huh? He was being a show-off. When the hell was he being a show-off? Every single instance of his power usage was him trying to stop the evil spirits that were attacking and manipulating the minds of everyone around him.
You were under the genie spell, and you broke it.
What? No, he wasn't. He was bitching about this long before Desiree came and made it worse. What are you talking about? The whole reason this idiocy happened in the first place was because he was being a jealous moron. You mean to tell me that the show wants us to think that he was the victim in all of this and Danny was being an asshole? Are you serious? My God, why are you people so terrible at writing life lessons into your shows? Don't hang out with people who aren't your original group of friends. Theft is okay as long as no one finds out about it. Bullying is bad, so don't defend yourself when people bully you. Jealousy is justified when you perceive someone as showing off to you. Like, my God, you'd think there'd at least be one that they got right by accident eventually. They could have easily just made this a simple jealousy bad theme, but for some reason they couldn't resist making Danny the one in the wrong again. Wow, that's impressive, guys. Once again, you never fail to blow me away with your insanely botched life lessons. Regardless, we're at the end now, so let's tie this thing up in a nice little bow. What You Want was a bad episode. Surprise. It wasn't as bad as Splitting Images, but my God, it takes some talent to top that one. The introduction of Desiree is both a contradiction to the current lore and the revised one, and her existence creates a multitude of issues going forward. She is so insanely powerful, and the show barely even acknowledges it. She is a reality-altering being that obeys any command given to her by literally anybody, so long as it is prefaced with, "I wish," and even that seems conditional at times. And all the while, Danny's struggling with understanding even that as he tracks her down and immediately goes, "You change my friend back or I'ma beat you up." And even upon learning what he's actually dealing with, instead opts on just making her go away rather than fixing the entire problem. Like, Danny, Sam even thought of this.
I wish Danny and I had never had that fight. And I wish Danny, Tucker, and I remembered everything in his costume stayed the way it is because I really, really like it.
Thank you once again for tuning in. For those of you who are wanting more of these, fear not, for I am in the process of making it a more regular thing. The hope is, at the very least, to release one once a month, but obviously I can't promise that, as I have other projects as well that need my attention. I will assure you, though, that there will be no more one-year gaps in between these videos, and you'll be able to watch Platinum Okami and I continue our descent into the rest of this show. And, who knows, maybe I'll even convince some other unnamed people to watch it with me. That being said, it is important to note that there are some episodes of the show that I'll be skimming over. Prisoners of Love in particular is one that I've been dreading reviewing for quite some time now. There are a couple reasons for this. One being that after posting my last critique on Splitting Images a while back, I came to a fairly horrifying realization. I've been doing this Danny Phantom critique project for over a year at this point, and I've only reviewed 6 of the 53 episodes. If I keep up at the current pace that I'm at, I'm not going to get done with this nonsense for another decade. And there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to maintain interest in this show for another 10 years. Therefore, some of these future episodes are going to be a bit on the shorter side. I won't condense to the point of skipping anything important, obviously, but certain episodes don't exactly offer anything interesting to talk about, nor do they even have much going on in them to begin with. Doubled with the fact that there are episodes of the series that are exceptionally worth talking about that I've been waiting to get to for quite some time, but remain stuck having to talk about Desiree and Poindexter first. So with that in mind, you can still expect some reasonably lengthy Danny Phantom content coming your way in the not-too-distant future, but in the interest of moving things along, some of these episodes won't be receiving the same amount of scrutiny that others do. Don't worry, for the sake of all of our sanities, it's for the better. But all that aside, I thank you once again for joining me in these trenches, and I'll see you next time.
I wish you lost.